What's up everybody, NFX here with another tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to sync up lyrics with your tracks. If your tracks have lyrics in them, or if you just wanted to add lyrics to an MP3 or some other song that you want to make a lyric video for it or something like that, this could be a way for you to do it. In my case, I tend to make ZGameEditor visualizers for the tracks that I do put out there. I find it to be a fun part of the whole release experience, I guess you could say. And, you know, since I've been using the AI generated vocals in my tracks lately, I wanted to also have lyrics being displayed with them. So that's what I'm going to show you, is how I add the lyric part to it and how that all works for me, my technique for doing that. So let's go to, this is the project I'm working with. You can see it's got these vocal parts here. And I've got a ZGameEditor visualizer already defined, but it doesn't have the lyric portion yet. Now this is a very simple visualizer. I'm going to go ahead and press play just so you can see what it looks like without the lyrics. It's nothing special, but it's a starting point. Yours could be obviously more complex or less complex or whatever you want, but just so you understand what we're starting with, I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and you'll see and hear what's going on. In this case, I do have the visualizer attached where it says window mode, so I could, resize things a bit here. Generally, I work with it detached, and you'll see it'll put it in its own window, and then I can put this on my other screen. But obviously if I did that here, you wouldn't be able to see it. So maybe I'll just dock it up there and shrink it a little bit just for the sake of you being able to see it, but also being able to see what I'm doing here in the visualizer setup area. Okay, so let me go ahead and play the song, and you'll just see the basic look of the visualizer.
Warbeats music. Listen.
Okay, so you can see it just kind of rotates around, looks like it's rotating or whatever, but that's the basic thing, right? So now I want to add lyrics over this. And the lyrics in this case, you could have them, you could place them wherever you want on the canvas over here. But what we want to do is we want to get the first thing we want to do is get the lyrics into the content settings. So in the visualizer, we'll go to add content and then text. And there's a little bit of text here already. I'll go ahead and remove that, and then I'm going to bring up my lyric sheet, and this is it right here. Now I do have spaces in various places, which you can remove all the spacing if you wanted to. I'm just leaving it in here as a demonstration. Now I like to make sure my first line is an empty line in my text for it. And one of the reasons why I'm using this text editor here is because I can see the line numbers. So I know how many lines are in this thing. Now most songs aren't going to be more than, maybe 70, 80 lines. I don't know. I've never had any that are more than about that. But what I do is I put exactly 100 lines. And I'll show you why in a step coming up. But just to show you how it's set up, my first line is always blank. Okay. And then the lyrics follow. Now the lyrics in this case don't really start until line 4, but that's okay. My lyrics follow. And then there's usually a bunch of empty lines afterwards. So in these empty lines, you could put more text if you wanted to, like I might want to say produced by NFX or something like that. I could put that in one of these empty lines. But ultimately, I get down to line 100, and I just type in, for me, I just type in 100, and that's just to remind me that there's 100 lines in here, and that's line 100, right? Then I'll do a Control A and a Control C in Windows to select everything and copy everything. And then I'll go into my content in FL Studio and I'll Control V to paste it in here. And then there you go. You can see it's all pasted in here. And now my content is here. I'm going to go back to the main. And what I want to do is I want to add two, in my case, two new things. Not sure what these layers, I guess they're called, two new layers to the very right of everything. This will ensure that they are on top of everything else in your visualizer. So if you scroll over, you'll see a plus button here. We'll add 1, 2, and then on the first one that added, I'm going to set a solid background that we'll use to put the lyrics over. And the reason why I want a background is because if the visualizer has light areas like it might here in the middle of the record there, and I use a light font, it might be harder to read. So the background is just going to give me a bit of a darker view. So what I'm going to do, what I do is I go to the drop down here and I go to Image Effects, Image. And it puts this default image kind of over everything. Okay. Then what I do is I go into the size and I bring it down a bit like so. So I'm shrinking the size down. And then I determine, in this case, I want it to be a solid color. So I'm going to click on solid color. And I don't want it to be white. I actually want it to be darker. So under lightness, I'm going to slide that over. Okay. To a point where I like it. And under alpha, I'm going to slide that over and it's going to start making it see-through. You see? It's a bit see-through. But I also want the width now to be like that. I want it to be as wide as everything in the look there. And I might experiment with the lightness and find where I want it to be. But I want it to be kind of dark, so I'm gonna do it like that. And I know it overlaps some of my visualizer, but I just want to do this primarily to show you that you need to have a good background for your text. Your text can be any color, but sometimes you just need that. Now, in this case, I'm having this dark area around the middle, but you could use position X and position Y to move it. Y moves it up and down, and then X moves it left and right, like so. So you could position it however you'd like. Change the width, the height, etc., all that stuff. If your lightness was all the way off and your saturation was all the way up, you could change the color. But again, we're not worried about that. We want it to be just a nice dark background. So we're going to go with it right here like this. Okay, so now in the next one over, we're going to add our text. So for text, what I recommend you use is HUD and then HUD text. HUD text has a few things that the other text options in here don't have. And I'll show you what those are. The first thing it has, well actually, when you do add a text item, like HUD text, or there's other types of text layers, they'll have this text line parameter here. And what that does is that displays, as I move it over, you can see it's going through the text lines in my content there, right? And by default, it starts here, and you can see it's cut off. But you could do various things with it. And the first thing we want to do is kind of center it all and make it so it's in the middle there. So what I'm going to do is the next step I would do is I would move this text over using position X, and you can see I could move it over, but it's still cut off. Okay, that's okay. We'll get to that part right now. To fix that, we go down to row width, and we set that so that it does what's called a word wrap, meaning it sets the width of it and then wraps the words around as needed. Once we have the row width where we like it, we could set the align horizontal to center, and that's going to center the words so that they're all like this. Instead of all to one side, they're like so. And because now that they're like this, I can actually use position X to center it on the display and position Y to bring it up a bit. And we have that set. The next thing you want to do is make sure you have a font that you like. Obviously you want something readable, but you can actually do the drop down and go through and pick one like so, or you can use the little arrows and move around until you find one. Like something like this font you see on the screen is hard to read. I wouldn't use that. But you could find the one that you like that might be readable. This one seems decently readable. So we'll go ahead and work with that one. You can also control the font size. So maybe I'll increase the font size a little bit like that. And overall, I think that looks fine. Looks decent to me. Maybe I can center it a bit more on the position X and the position Y. Something like this. I'm fine-tuning it now. Probably I shouldn't really do this, with you guys waiting for me to do all those little tweaks, but there we go. We'll live with it the way it is. Okay, so now the question becomes, how do we control the text line, right? So as the song plays, we want this text line to move forward to show you the correct line. Okay, so the way I would do that is I would use a Fruity keyboard controller. Let me move this over to the side for a minute. And I'm going to go to my playlist and I'm going to hit plus. And then I'm going to find Fruity keyboard controller. Now, if you don't see it because you have a lot of crap on your list like I do, simply go to more plugins. And then down at the bottom, you'll have a find button. And you could type in keyboard and it will find Fruity keyboard controller. Double click that and it will add the Fruity keyboard controller. Now because I added it through this button, of course it created a pattern for me. It put it in the channel and it even placed the pattern here on the playlist. Now let me move this out of the way just to talk about this next step. This next step, I'm going to make sure that my pattern starts at the beginning and is as long as it needs to be, which is generally just after the last vocal. So here's where the vocals end. So I'm going to drag this just a little bit longer so that it's there. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and put the video back up here in the corner. And to show you how this is going to end up working and why that 100 lines was important for me and my technique is because what's coming next. When I go here and bring up the Fruity keyboard controller, I have a preset called 100 notes. I'm going to show you how to make that yourself. The way you would make that is to make it like I have it is you would, well actually the reason why it's important to have that preset is because each one of these notes that you see here will trigger one line in the text, right? Since I know we have 100 lines, I want to set this to be exactly 100 notes. So I can scroll around and set the range that I want to use, right? If I only had a few lines, I wouldn't need that many. but I want a kind of a generic solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the left side all the way down to C0, and I'm going to drag the right side all the way up to D sharp 8. Okay, C0 to D sharp 8. And then I'm going to auto map, click on auto map, white plus black. And now what it's done is it's set up that range will have exactly 100 keys in it. And each one of these keys, when pressed, will bring up a line in the text, right? So we have 100 lines in my text, 100 keys to get to those lines, or 100 notes rather to get to those lines. We're going to turn off the note off value. I'll talk about that. I may talk about that in a minute. And attack and release, we want to bring those all the way down. By default, they're not all the way down, but we want them to be all the way down to the bottom, like that. And then that's set. Okay, this is kind of how I would run it at this point. The note off value means when the note stops playing, what note does it jump back to? So I'll talk about that in a second. We'll turn it on just so for the sake of example. Actually, no, let's leave it off for now. But what I would do at this point is I would go into your controller menu there and save preset as, and then call it 100 notes and save it. And once you do that, the next time you want to use this thing, you can simply go to the presets, find 100 notes, and load it, and it'll load everything the way you had set it up with your keyboard range and everything ready to go. And you won't have to do those steps again. And that's why I do 100 notes, because 100 notes is usually more than I need, and it's a nice round number. So this is all set. This is ready to go in terms of the Fruity Keyboard Controller. Now the last part, well, maybe the second to last part, is that we need to connect the keyboard controller to the HUD text. And remember that text line is what controls the displayed text. So we'll set this all the way back to 1, or back to the leftmost position, and we'll right click on it and say link to controller. And then when that link or remote control settings dialog comes up, whoops, I hit the wrong thing. Let me do that again. Link to controller. Oh, I think hold on one second. My pitch wheel is broken, so it's sending a signal which it shouldn't send. Let me go back. So we're going to right click on text line. Hopefully it won't fuck up this time, but we'll go to link to controller, find internal controller, drop it down, and go to Fruity Keyboard Controller Note and hit that. And I think let me turn off my keyboard. Hey, I have a broken pitch wheel. I apologize for this delay here. And what happens is it doesn't stay at 0 or at center position. So let me do this again. Link to controller, internal controller, note, Fruity Keyboard Controller Note, and accept. Okay, there we go. Okay, now it should be connected. I'm going to turn my keyboard back on. And okay, so now if I press a key on my keyboard, you can see it changes the text automatically. So now the notes are controlling what shows up, what line shows up on the text line, right? So let's go back, reset that, and now we can go to the pattern for Fruity Keyboard Controller. Make sure that pattern is selected. go to the Fruity keyboard controller in the channel rack and go into the piano roll for it. The piano roll will pop up, and you can put a note. I guess I could zoom in a little bit. We could put a note at C0, which is that. Remember I told you I put a blank line as the first line? That's what C0 is going to do for us here. It's going to, anytime we do C0, it's going to put an empty line in the display. But you'll see if I click a different note, it puts that line. And you can see how I can get to each line now just by putting in a different note. Now the first line in this song is this woo that comes in at some point. I don't know, I don't remember exactly where, but what we're going to do is we're in song mode and we have our pattern all the way across. So now we can just work within this playlist, and what we'll do is we'll click around in here to set the play position, and then we'll hit play. I'm going to use my space bar, and then I'm going to see when that woo comes in, and I'm going to make sure that this note is the correct note to display it. So when I hit play, remember it's going to start at the beginning, so it's going to hit C0, which is going to remove the woo from here. And then I'll have to see where does this, the proper placement of this note. So let me do that. So you can see this note is coming in a bit late. It should be somewhere roughly about here. Let me double check. And then I can just zoom out a bit and maneuver my way around here, putting in the next line as needed. Now, in order to make it so I don't listen to the entire song every time, what I'll do is I'll click just before the previous note that I know is in the proper position, and then I'll hit my space bar and it'll play from this section moving forward. And then I'm going to try to put in a few different lines in this demo.
Warbeats, music. Listen. Warbeats, music. Listen, listen. Rolling.
So rolling is on G#0, and it starts roughly here, but I know that this last note was good, so I'm going to rewind it just to there.
Listen, listen. Rolling solo with a fifth in the console.
Okay, I'm going to scroll over. I'm pretty sure it's about there is the next line. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the play in the playlist here just before this last note.
Rolling solo with a fifth in the console. Past caught up, now I sip like it's gospel. Stuck in a cycle, my demons on auto play, laughing in court.
Okay, so I think I got these 4 lines done. Let me just double check.
Rolling solo with a fifth in the console. Past caught up, now I sip like it's gospel. Stuck in a cycle, my demons on auto play, laughing in court while they type up the dossier.
Okay, and I'm just going to repeat this as needed. Now I know that this last line is correct, so I don't have to listen to the first 4 lines again. I could just start it here.
Laughing in court while they type up the dossier. Mama said pray, but the saints turned cynical. So I made peace with the pain, it's habitual. 12 on my bump.
Okay, so I think I've got these next lines in. Let me just play, and I'm double checking, and I'll move these forward or backwards as needed.
Laughing in court while they type up the dossier. Mama said pray, but the saints turned cynical. So I made peace with the pain, it's habitual. 12 on my bump, but my name in they system. But 12 on my bump, put my name in they system. But I drive like the Lord ain't never listen. But I drive like the Lord ain't never listen. Zero fucks given. But I drive like the Lord ain't never listen. Zero fucks given. Tell me why I should care now, when nobody ever did it. When nobody ever did it. Made it through with no handouts. When nobody ever did it. Made it through with no handouts. Scars on my wrist and my rib. Scars on my wrist and my rib. Paid my lane through the static. I talk. Paid my lane through the static. I talk my pain cinematic. No. Paid my lane through the static. I talk my pain cinematic. No love lost, I live savage. Yeah. No love lost, I live savage. Yeah. Zero. No love lost, I live savage. Yeah. Zero fucks given. Pull from the zero fucks given. Pull from the dirt.
Okay, I'm not going to do the entire song, obviously, but you could see how I was able to, while I'm listening to it, go through and just click these notes in to set the next and the next and the next text line. So, all that being said, picture that I did the whole thing. Then I could render it all down. Now, if I hit play, we'll just see the end result up to where we are right now.
Warbeats music. Listen, listen. Rolling solo with a fifth in the console. Past caught up, now I sip like it's gospel. Stuck in a cycle, my demons on autoplay. Laughing in court while they type up the dossier. Mama said pray, but the saints turn cynical. So I made peace with the pain, it's habitual. 12 on my bump, put my name in they system. But I drive like the Lord ain't never listen. Zero fucks given. Tell me why I should care now, when nobody ever did it. Made it through with no handouts. Scars on my wrist and my rib. Paid my lane through the static. I talk my pain cinematic. No love lost, I live savage. Yeah. Zero fucks given.
And there you go. That's how I do it. You know, once you've got the kind of the technique down, you'll get quicker and quicker at putting the notes in. What I do is obviously I look at where the play is going and then try to place the note as it's playing. You could also record your notes and then just play them on the keyboard in order, right? And then record yourself hitting the correct note as a starting point, and then go back later and then just tweak the timing if you're a little bit off. Obviously, I have spaces in my text too. So like if I bring up this thing and you look at, I'm playing C2 there, C sharp, D, but then D sharp right there too is an empty line. So when I'm recording, I might not remember where the empty lines are, and then I hit the next line a little bit late. I can go back and listen and just tweak it, bring it back into where it needs to be. But yeah, so that's two ways of getting the job done. I showed you the click way because that's how I started doing it initially, and I found it to be relatively easy to do. And it does take, a little bit of time to just get everything placed properly, but you can see it's not difficult at all. So that's how I synchronize lyrics to my visualizer text. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you find a use. I hope you can use it to your benefit at some point in the future. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next one.